American Pie. Back then, everyone was shocked by it. Modern people want to cancel it. So naturally, I've got to talk about it. Because come on, this is what I do. You come on, 10 things, let's check it out. Tastes a little different. Number 10. Somewhat based on the writer's high school days. American Pie was the brainchild of scriptwriter Adam Hers, where he wrote the script of what would eventually become American Pie while on a winter ski vacation in 1998. Supposedly, a great deal of the script was inspired by Hers's real-life experiences, from when he attended East Grand Rapids High School, which is located in Michigan, which would be translated to East Great Falls in the film. In fact, a lot of the locations seen in the movie are based on real locations, of which were a part of Hers's real life. For example, the restaurant we see the guys hanging out in, which is called Dog Years in the movie, is based on a real-life restaurant called Yesterdog. While writing, Hers also got inspiration from other movies like Porky's and Bachelor Party, two fellow outrageous sex comedies. So it's interesting thinking about what parts of the movie really happened and which ones were made up. But I think we're all thinking the same thing here. Did someone really actually get freaky with a pie? I don't know, maybe I don't want to know that.
We'll just tell your mother that we ate it all.
Number 9. So many wonderfully strange potential titles. It seems that coming up for a title for this movie about 4 guys on a quest to do the spicy tango was easier said than done, as it seems that Adam Hers just couldn't figure out what to call the damn thing. The original script got the insanely long title of, and get ready for this, untitled teenage sex comedy that could be made for under $10 million that most readers will probably hate, but I think you will love. Wow, now that's a movie title if I've ever seen one. The title would be changed to East Grand Rapids High. Yeah, it just rolls off the tongue. And then East Great Falls High. Once again, another one that just rolls off the tongue. While the movie was being filmed, it actually went by the title of Great Falls. But I'm not a fan of the title Great Falls. To me, it sounds like something you'd call a YouTube compilation video, which is made up of clips of people falling over. Great Falls. Finally, before the movie was released, it got the more iconic title of American Pie. I guess someone knew that infamous pie scene would be a standout moment, and so naming the movie American Pie would get everyone talking about it. I can remember at the time hearing about this new raunchy comedy that's going to change everything, and it was called American Pie. And I wondered if the movie had anything to do with the song Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Because when I was 15, I wasn't too clever. Number 8. Casting possibilities. So American Pie was picked up by Universal Pictures and the production was go. Now, one thing you've got to say about this movie is that it does feature an ensemble of unique characters, although I would argue that the 2 main characters of the piece were Jim and his dad, played by Jason Biggs and the legendary Eugene Levy, who, in my opinion, really steals the show. However, there could have been 2 different actors playing these iconic characters, as originally Jonathan Taylor Thomas was being sought after to play Jim. Thomas at the time was a famous former child star thanks to starring in Home Improvement, but he turned it down and didn't end up starring in the movie, and instead he starred in the movie Speedway Junkie. Yeah, of course, I remember that. It's a classic, yeah. Likewise, Bill Murray was originally being considered for Jim's dad, Noah. However, it was Eugene Levy who was cast, and I think that's just as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Bill Murray and all that, but I just don't think we would have gotten the fatherly warmth from him that we got from Levy. However, Levy did not like the way that his character was written, so he was allowed to improvise his lines, and thus most of his lines in the movie were improvised. And considering just how funny his character is, really makes me appreciate the comedic chops of Eugene Levy. Like, he really made this movie. In addition to that, Alison Hannigan, who played the sex-crazed Michelle, was originally offered the role of Heather, the more reserved, prim and proper character of the movie, but she felt that she was more suited to the wild band camp member, so she did a character switcheroo. And Selma Blair was offered to play any one of the female leads, but she turned the offer down, as she didn't want to be typecast as a teen actress, a decision that she would actually go on to regret. Number 7, there was another American Pie movie being made at the same time. Okay, this is where things just get weird and leave you scratching your head thinking, just what are the odds? Okay, so remember how I said there was a bit of a struggle to find a title for American Pie? Well, the struggle ain't over yet, guys. While American Pie was in production, there was an indie movie being made which was also called American Pie. In fact, this alternative American Pie was supposedly called American Pie before the one that we all know, as at that stage, the well-known American Pie movie was called Great Falls, of which, as mentioned, later on in its production would be changed to its title of American Pie. And so when the production of the other low-budget American Pie movie realised that Universal Pictures were releasing a movie that was also called American Pie, they decided to change that movie's title to The Secret Life of Girls. So yeah, there could have been 2 movies released in 1999 called American Pie. And what makes this piece of information even more freaky deaky is both movies starred Eugene Levy. Once again, what are the odds? How did this guy go on to be a part of 2 productions that are called American Pie? I don't know, it kind of makes you wonder if during American Pie's production, when it was called Great Falls, if the crew found out that Eugene Levy was making a movie called American Pie and thought, oh yeah, that's a good title, and quickly got in first and used it. I don't know, that's just a guess. Number 6, MILF and Honey. Despite American Pie, in part being based on writer Adam Herz's real-life growing pains at a high school in Michigan, the movie was actually shot at Long Beach, California. And the high schools that were used to double for Great Falls High were Millikan High School and Long Beach Polytechnic High School. Jim's house was located in Los Cerritos, Long Beach, California. American Pie was directed by American filmmaker Paul Weitz, who previously wrote the computer animation kids movie Ants, and would go on to write and direct the more serious and dramatic About a Boy. Remember that one that starred Hugh Grant? And that kid who would grow up to be that guy who's now suddenly in everything. American Pie was also co-produced by director Paul Weitz's brother, Chris Weitz. In the movie's build-up to its climax, no pun intended, we learn that the prom in question was an Arabian Nights theme. The producers claimed that this was done to create a strange and unique prom theme, and something a little cheesy. But I don't know, when I was in high school, I probably would have really liked an Arabian Nights theme prom. And despite American Pie having the reputation of creating the term MILF, it actually didn't. The term can be traced all the way back as far as 1992, and according to Wikipedia, a Usenet post featured the term MILF in 1995, 4 years before the movie's release. However, Stifler's mum actress Jennifer Coolidge is often used as the face associated to the word MILF because of her role in the movie.
MILF! MILF! MILF!
There is definitely something going on with this flute. But I would argue that American Pie brought the word MILF into the public zeitgeist. Number 5. Jim has a big sausage. One of the most infamous scenes in the movie is the webcam sequence, where we see Jim do what's meant to be a sexy dance for the exchange student Nadia. Well, in order to enhance Jason Biggs' package, a sausage was shoved down his shorts. Well, technically a sausage that was stuck to a pencil and wrapped in foil. And what makes it kinda gross is that it was a sausage that was left over from the cast and crew's breakfast. And according to IMDb, Biggs had the option of a big sausage or a little sausage. And naturally, he chose a big one. Sean William Scott, who played the iconic role of Stifler, the loudmouth friend that we've all had at some stage, You know, that one that you just love to hate? Well, he was only paid $8,000 for his performance as Stifler. The funny thing is, he would probably become the most successful cast member in the long run. I mean, after American Pie, he would go on to star in a heap of things. However, Jason Biggs, who was probably the main lead, went on to star in that movie Loser, where they gave him a wig which just made him look like Dracula. Another memorable role was that of Bandcamp member Michelle, once again played by Alison Hannigan. And while filming the movie, she ad-libbed the famous line, "Say my name, bitch." And apparently still to this day, she has people come up to her and say,
"And this one time, at band camp, I stuck a flute in my
Pussycat. Yeah, nice pussycat. Off you go then, go be free. So where was I? Oh yeah, that's right. The term "this one time at band camp" has definitely been immortalised. But what about Sean William Scott? Surely he had it pretty tough too, having to drink the, pale ale. Well, believe it or not, but that pale in the ale was in fact egg white. Number 4. Suffering in the Name of Art and Warm Apple Pies. So the main mission of the movie may have been about these lads trying to do the old spicy tango. For actor Jason Biggs, behind the scenes, the main mission could have been trying to stay alive, as apparently he did go through a few physical struggles while making the movie. In the scene where Jim is seen running around all over the neighborhood, Biggs actually got heat stroke, and despite the crew trying to cool him down by packing his shirt with ice, he still had to seek medical help. Damn, just how hot was it that day in 1998? In the scene where we see Finch playing golf while talking to Kevin about his new reputation, Jim was actually meant to be in that scene, but Biggs couldn't take part in the filming as he accidentally poisoned himself thanks to taking too many zinc supplements. It is also said that in several scenes, you can see Biggs sweating. Well, that's because several of the movie's sets were built inside a warehouse that didn't have air conditioning, and so he was struggling with the heat. Once again, just how hot was it back in 1998? Then there's the pie. Oh, that damn pie scene. Probably the most romantic scene in movie history involving a man and a pie. Naturally, before filming that scene, Jason Biggs started to freak out and get cold feet, and felt that not only was he going to annihilate that pie, but also his career too. So he called his manager in a fit of crisis in order to get some advice as to what he should do, to which his manager replied, quote, "Jason, you go and fuck that pie with all you've got, man." Number 3, becoming a franchise. American Pie came out during a resurgence of teen movies, where in the late 90s and early 2000s, the teen movie trope had become incredibly popular again, which was actually a trend that started with Scream, and American Pie was riding the wave of that success. However, American Pie was such a huge success, a sequel was very quickly put together, where we got American Pie 2, which to me, I liked at the time, but it is basically part 1 all over again. Only, this time it's set in a beach house? Yeah, sure, why not? Then there was American Wedding, or as it was known here in Australia, American Pie, The Wedding. And this one did try something different, and I always found Jim's man hair all over the wedding cake to be absolutely hilarious. But one thing is for sure with these sequels, they really did not know what to do with Oz and Kevin, with them kind of now just being background characters. Heck, Oz was written out of the third movie entirely. And the movies were increasingly focusing on the Stifler character, with it feeling like not only was Stifler becoming the franchise's main focus, but he was also becoming more and more obnoxious and unlikable with each movie. And by the time the third movie came out, he even came complete with this really obnoxious laugh. But you know, he is still funny, and I did still find the movies to be a lot of fun and sentimental. Then in 2012 there was American Reunion, or as it was known here in Australia, American Pie, The Reunion. And I actually really enjoyed this movie when it came out, and it was fun seeing each character getting their moment, and catching up to see where they've been since that first movie, making it feel like an actual reunion. And I also feel like this entry was talking to my generation, the teenagers who saw the first movie who had now grown up into adulthood. And surprisingly, the movie actually does have a lot of heart and sincerity. Heck, Roger Ebert awarded it 3 out of 4 stars. Now, there have been several whispers since then that there will be a 5th theatrical movie, with a new movie supposedly being announced in 2022. I guess it's going to be American Pie, but with a middle-aged cast. Then, of course, there's the American Pie Presents spin-offs. Yeah, about that. Look, I've seen about 1 or 2 of these bad boys, and to me, from memory of what I saw, they just felt like they were made for TV movies, which I guess they are, in that they were straight-to-video releases. But there was this kind of cheapness about them. Now, the first movie was a sex-crazed comedy, sure, but it was also a coming-of-age movie with a lot of heart. With the straight-to-video spin-offs, it's like they got the sex comedy bit, but left out the heart. Or at least that's what I took from what I saw. Although any excuse is a good excuse to see more of Eugene Levy as Jim's dad. Number 2, cuts had to be made in order to avoid an NC-17 rating. So with the approach of American Pie's release, quite a few cuts and trims had to be made, as the MPAA originally hit American Pie with an NC-17 rating, as they felt it was too rude and naughty. So with the production seeking to get an R rating, cuts had to be made. Now, some of the cuts do make sense, such as cutting down the pie scene and the scene of Nadia on Jim's bed. However, some of the edits were just bizarre. For example, after the scene where Stifler drinks the pale ale, Kevin originally asked him, "How was the man chowder?" And for whatever reason, the MPAA really hated the term man chowder, so it was gone. I can remember seeing several home media releases of which had different versions of American Pie. For example, the pie scene in the video rental version showed Jim having his wicked way with the pie by holding it against his crotch while he was standing up, whereas in the version that you could buy, had Jim on the table actually mounting the pie. And in the following scene, when Jim's dad tells Jim that they'll tell his mother that they ate it all, some versions had the destroyed pie on the dining table, whereas there was another version where the pie was not present. Very strange indeed. Number 1, it's like warm apple pie. It seems that Universal Pictures didn't have much faith in American Pie and sold the movie's foreign movie rights to investors at the Cannes Film Festival in order to recoup the movie's budget. Like they were counting their losses and trying to save themselves before the movie was even released. And wow, what an oversight, as American Pie would go on to make over $235 million on a budget of $11 million. And it beat Wild Wild West at the #1 spot in the box office. Wow, I sure hope Will Smith didn't slap anyone. As well as becoming the 20th highest grossing movie of 1999 and the highest grossing movie in Germany in the year 2000. And it also won a heap of awards. But mainly, the teenage awards, like your MTVs, shit like that. And it got positive to mixed reviews. There were some who saw it as a fresh, new, challenging coming-of-age comedy, and those who found it to be tasteless and tacky. Now, I know that American Pie may not be to everyone's taste, but the way I look at it, it's just a movie. It's not real, it's all pretend. At the end of the day, it's just theatre, and the movie isn't telling its audience to behave in such ways. Heck, most of the characters who do partake in some of the most outrageous antics actually do get their comeuppances, or face some kind of humiliation or retaliation. I think it's clear that, for example, Stifler is a terrible character, one who treats women terribly. Heck, he treats everyone terribly. He's a bully. And I don't think that the movie is in any way championing this behavior or telling the audience to behave like this. We're actually meant to be disgusted in him. And as mentioned, Stifler usually has to suffer the consequences of his awful behavior. As for some claims that it's harmful to society, well, I don't think that American Pie would lead people in the real world to behave in such ways as we see on screen, any more than I think that violent video games turns people into serial killers. That's why the movie is a comedy. It's really outrageous and goes against the norm of possibilities of what could happen in the real world. It is very much an outrageous sex comedy in every sense of the term. It is definitely out to shock, and is very much part of the same mold as Animal House, Porky's, and Revenge of the Nerds. And I can remember vividly American Pie had everyone talking at the time, because it was so outrageous. I think people just couldn't quite believe what they were seeing. I mean, the whole Bandcamp quote, No one had ever heard a thing like that in a movie before, especially a mainstream one. And so I think people were just going to see the movie for themselves, to see just how truly shocking it was. And American Pie also put its mark on modern day culture. Because of American Pie, the term MILF became a thing, which it still is now, and everyone all of a sudden started making Bandcamp jokes and references. And so it seems, despite the movie's wild antics and its clashes with modern day sensibilities, back in 1999, everyone wanted a slice of that pie. Now I ask you guys, what do you think? Is American Pie just a funny movie and people need to lighten up and accept that it's not real? Or is it indeed offensive and sends out negative messages and ideals out into society? Either way, polarizing movies can always lead to great discussions. Anyway, I'm Minty, and may you all have a slice of warm apple pie. See ya!